And they obviously all sat in the auditorium thinking, oh my god, this is really proper and exciting. Are we filming?
Yeah,
cool.
Okay.
So, and so what was it like to come to BAC? How did you come to... You didn't come as artistic director, did you?
No, so I came to BAC in July of 2007 as executive director, and I was doing the maternity cover for Rosie Hunter, who was about to go and have a baby. And about 6 months after I had started here as executive director, David Judd and Nick Starr, who was our chair in 2007, invited me to join David as joint artistic director. So I spent 9 months as ED and then almost 5 years as AD, joint AD.
And is that ever happened anywhere before, that we have 2 artistic directors?
It has. I think the Almeida had 2 artistic directors for a while in the 90s. I guess David and I are unusual in that we're both producers, so neither of us direct, and we've got a producer's instinct, I suppose, to running an organisation like BAC. So the boundaries between the executive director and the artistic director are much more porous than they might be in a traditional theatre, in a proper theatre that does plays and things like that.
Interesting, isn't it? And how does it... what was it like to come? What was it like to...
It was really exciting. I've always felt that this building's been a bit of a magnet in my life. I've always lived in South London and I've always had a sort of connection with some of the work that it's produced. And so for me, to come to BAC as an employee back in 2007 was incredibly exciting because it was a building that I knew quite well and that I loved for the work that it had done. And I felt like it was a really great moment for me where my skills and experience connected with what this organisation needed at that point in its history.
And where did you come from?
I came from the Arts Council. I had been the Senior Strategy Officer for Theatre at the Arts Council's National Office. And that's where I first met David. I first met David when he was then a producer, working with companies like Ridiculousness and other companies
like that.
I can't remember who they were. But that's when I first met David, probably about 2001 when I started my time at the Arts Council. I was the lead officer for contemporary performance, so I got to look after all the really exciting stuff, the kind of experimental, edgy, puppetry, devised work, street theatre, circus, all that kind of governance, which was great.
Should have made this feel even more like coming to home.
Exactly, it really did.
David, can you tell me about a couple of great shows you've seen or been a part of here? I guess shows that you've helped to make here.
I mean, two that spring to mind. One is Once and For All, we're going to tell you who we are, so shut up and listen, by the unpronounceable Belgians, Entre and Goed. We'll probably edit that bit out later. And that piece of work we saw in Edinburgh, having seen it on DVD beforehand, saw it in Edinburgh and just fell in love with it. It was one of the most extraordinary pieces of work I think we've ever presented here, certainly in the time I've been here. I can only describe it as being heartbreaking and heartwarming all at the same time, and it kind of reminds you what it's like to be in that still point between being a child and an adult, and it's just,
And they were kids, weren't they?
And they were kids, so there were about 14, probably 12 to 18-year-olds performing this extraordinary, very, very experimental text, which was their own words, but sort of forged by an adult, very brilliant director into something that felt really coherent.
Was it in English?
In English, so Belgian performing in English.
And were they the first home residency here? Were they the first people
They probably were, very early version of Home. They were resident here for probably about a week, and I remember it was chaos because we created these dorm facilities for them, and they're all 13 to 18-year-olds, and you can imagine what 13 to 18-year-olds get up to in a building like this. It's a playground, and smoking on the roof and getting drunk and God knows what else. But very much helped us think about how we create a home for this building. And then I suppose the other one to mention, which Thea, you will know well, is the Twin Peaks Weekender, which I really loved. I loved the concept of it, and I loved the way in which we delivered it, and very proud of our ability to kind of bring together 500 people over a weekend to experience not just Twin Peaks and the extraordinary work of David Lynch, but then a whole roster of artists who, of a certain generation, have been inspired by Twin Peaks and Lynch's work.
It was an anniversary, wasn't it?
It was. It was the 20th anniversary of the first UK broadcast of Twin Peaks. and we managed to secure the rights. In fact, I think you managed to secure the rights from CBS to
avoid contract.
not a charge, of course. To screen those 27 episodes in the Grand Hall. So people camping out overnight, bringing sleeping bags and gallons of coffee and cherry pie, and doing that thing that I think only BAC can do, which is creating an extraordinary immersive experience that I think at its best, whether it's the Mask of Red Death or that weekend or the one-on-one festival, we can create that extraordinary immersive experience where, whether it's an hour or 2 hours or the whole evening, or 24 hours in the case of Twin Peaks, your life is transformed in that period of time. I think that this building does that in a way in which no other theatre I know can. I
love the story of you and Richard Duffy going to buy you 300 donuts in Asda at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the person looking at you like, saying something to you like, "Are you having a party?"
Yeah, that was great. That was a BAC classic.
Can you, David, tell us what you'll most miss about BAC?
I will miss the building. I will miss the building because it is a beautiful, beautiful space, and I love its shabby cheapness. I love the grotty old furniture that we still use every day. I'll miss the people. The people here are extraordinary. Everybody here works incredibly hard and is completely passionate about the things that we do. And yeah, after 5.5 years, I've made some very close friends who I will miss dearly, and I will stay in contact with. I won't miss Pluto the cat. I hate cats, and I hate Pluto. I've always hated him, and I hope I'll never see him again.
Brilliant. And what do you, leaving this beautiful building, what do you want for yourself next? What's the next chapter?
Yeah, so what's next? I'm definitely going to spend more time with some of the companies who I have a voluntary relationship with. So I am on the board of Artichoke, and I'm the chair of Wildworks, and I want to feel like I'm giving more to those two companies than I've been able to give over the last few years. I'm taking a break to think about what I want to do next. I have been thinking about whether I want to run another venue or actually whether I want to do something a little bit different. So yeah, I'm exploring lots of options both in this country and internationally, and that's not me being deliberately coy, but I can't say any more at the moment. But yeah, definitely keeping my options open.
No, it's exciting. It's exciting actually, isn't it?
Really
to have
exciting,
a sort of open door and sort of look at all look at possibility and not just...
It does. It feels like a real privilege. I kind of feel like I'm taking a sabbatical.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm treating the next 3 or 4 months out. It is a proper sabbatical time to really think. Because at the tender age of 32, I've decided that it's time to have a midlife crisis. If you can basically change the colour of my hair in Photoshop.
That's easily done.
Okay.
I have kind of just a question I've had. I know you were a link between BAC and Transition Towns, and I wonder if that is something that you're going to stay involved in.
Definitely, yes. One of the things that I'm definitely going to do next is see where I can do more work with Transition Towns. So yeah, again, Jesse, you know this already, but just worth saying, Transition Towns is a national, international movement that's looking at how people can locally make a change that responds to the twin challenges of peak oil and climate change. And I think it's one of the most exciting kind of grassroots movements that there is. And I think the reason why it's important for BAC is because it's all about inventing a future, inventing a positive future. And here our mission is to invent the future of theatre. And I think that we can help things like Transition to imagine a positive future for our communities, whether that's the community here in Battersea or communities around the country, around the world. So yeah, I'm really proud of what we've done around Transition, and I'd like to think, we said before, I'd like to think that we could make this a Transition Town Hall. So this is a building that is going through a period of transition into a kind of post-oil economy. So we're thinking about the impact of the things we do on all of the resources that we have available, and we're not just taking kind of random decisions about how much power to use or how much money to spend or how many of our natural resources we might squander on a piece of work.
That probably goes some way to answering the questions written down here. How do you envisage the future of BAC? This is partly that, I suppose.
Yeah, I think BAC is in a very healthy position. We've We're about to do a lot of capital work to the building, which will transform it, I hope. Transform it, perhaps not in the most obvious way, and it won't make this a spangly 21st century building, but hopefully it will improve it to an extent whereby it really is a gorgeous home for artists and audiences and staff to come together. So I think that that's one of the most exciting things in the future, and I think that will, the act of doing that will change BAC for the next couple of years. I feel in some ways that I'm leaving at the end of a phase, which has been about changing the programme and changing the staff structure, and we're now moving into a phase where, for some periods of time, the building will be different. It will be shut for some of the time, or parts of it will be shut, and the programme will have to respond to that. So I think that's really exciting as well. And then, obviously, 2015 coming out of that, the building will be, we hope, fit for purpose, although probably never finished.
It would be very BAC-like to be completely perfect. What are you most proud of all the things that you've accomplished at BAC? If you have
a very, very different reputation, a great reputation, but for doing a very different kind of work. And I feel, I've played a role in shifting that towards what I think has been a really broad church of contemporary practice.
And also, you've been a co-architect in a huge piece of organisational change in the way that we behave as a group of people as well, haven't you? Even since I've been here for 3 years.
Yeah.
And even within that time, that sense of inventing and re-looking at how we do what we do and how we could do it better.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a huge success.
I think it has, I think it has. I think if there's one... I have lots of regrets. I shouldn't have regret me out. But one regret that I have is that we talk a lot about doing less better. And actually, 5.5 years on, I don't think we're doing any less. And I think we're doing things better. I think we have professionalised our practice significantly, and I think that project working has been a great driver for that. But we're not doing less. And I look around the staff team, here we are on a Friday night at 4:30, and everyone's knackered. And that's not healthy. I think that we were talking earlier about transition and sort of resilience and sustainability, and I still don't think we think enough about the resilience of our staff team. You know, our greatest asset are the people who work here, the artists and the staff who work here, and I think sometimes we don't give those people enough love, time off, chance to recover, chance to reflect on what we're doing in their lives. It just can feel a bit like we're kind of, on a bit of a conveyor belt. So that's one thing I regret. That may not make it to the edit of it.
We'll see, shall
Somebody
we?
may think
Do you have an idea for a production or project that you didn't have the time to realise? Barry Manilow knows everything about love, but nothing about growing old.
That's what I'm going to do. That's what I want to do. A big Bazza musical in Grand Hall with showgirls and a mirror ball and Muppets and everything. Yes, definitely. Fuck the invented future theatre. I do musicals.
What was it called?
No, it's a show that I fantasise about doing. It's nothing to do with David. I was putting words in his mouth.
Yeah. One obvious thing to say is about Signa, who are a company that you've seen here, and we've David and I saw in somewhere.
Germany,
somewhere, a city in Germany. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. For me, I think it was last year we saw it, 2011. For me, it was the best piece of theatre I saw that year, and we've been cultivating a relationship with them since, and I hope to come back to BAC in 2013 or 2014 and see Signa doing a piece of work in this building, because they're at the pointy end of inventing the future of theatre. And I spent 6 hours in that show, and I came out and I felt like I had about 50 cups of espresso. I was absolutely buzzing. It's the most exciting, immersive thing I think I've been involved in for a long time.
Brilliant. And what's your favourite room?
I really like this room. The fireplace room, because this was in the Mask of Red Death, and this